Hey guys, before we begin the episode, we have an update.
Now, guys, remember a couple of episodes ago, I think it was going all the way back to Galaxy High School, I think. We talked about the problems with Intellivision, with the stupid Intellivision Amico console and everything.
You mean Tommy Tallarico taking money from everybody?
Oh, yeah. But I guess now we have a conclusion to this story, because Atari has bought the Intellivision brand.
This happened a couple days ago, actually. May 23rd, which is yesterday as we record this. Uniting Atari and Intellivision after 45 years ends the longest-running console war in history, saying Mike Mika, studio head at Digital Eclipse, an Atari-owned game studio. The purchase includes the rights to more than 200 titles from the Intellivision portfolio and the Intellivision trademarks.
So, Mike, what do you think about this? Atari buying the Intellivision brand now. The possibilities are endless.
They really are, and I mentioned this to you guys yesterday. Atari now has 5 short years to create an Intellivision 50 video game. I don't want to say video game itself, but if you played Atari 50, and I know both Greg and Chico have, that is so immersive, not just in the games, but in the whole multimedia history of Atari.
It's basically Intellivision lives if they actually, tried. You remember Intellivision lives, right?
Yeah, I owned it on the original Xbox.
I had it for the PS2.
Now I got a question. Do you think the world is ready for a reboot of it?
They're not. They better be.
I really wonder what games are in Atari's control now, because I mentioned Burger Time earlier, and Greg said, what's a Data East thing? I thought it was Mattel for some reason, but it does make sense now that I think about it. So it really depends on the games. I mean, does the world really want an updated version of Lock and Chase? As much as I love the Game Boy version, mind you, I don't think the world is clamoring for an updated version of it. Okay, theme time.
An anthology about the bad, the short-lived, and the forgotten shows and events in television history. This is It Was a Thing on TV.
Punisher! Control! Tell me before I change my mind!
I give you Super Train.
Thankfully, this will not take 9 years. It'll take 22 short minutes, Chico?
22 at least, 32 at most. Episode 475, submission 2572, How I Met Your Dad. How I Met Your Dad was an unaired pilot for CBS from 2014.
You know what that means, guys? It's 15 less episodes than the Hudson Brothers Razzle Dazzle Show, Uncle Croc's Block School, and all those other shows that had 16 episodes.
That's the first time we've done that this month with all the pilots. We didn't even do it last week for Just Our Luck.
Oh, that is true. So, what was it? Just Our Luck, how many episodes did that have?
13.
Okay, 3 less than a Croc Block.
11 of which actually aired.
Oh, man.
Dear Cricket, a wise person once told me that if you've got something important to say, type it up in a letter. To that end, I've dusted off this ancient blue contraption called a typewriter to tell you something very important indeed. The story of how I met your dad. I was 27 years old. Now, I'm sure you're picturing a 27-year-old version of who I am today, all put together, all figured out, no rough edges, no bad decisions, just a big ball of elegance, inspiration, and class. Well, stop it. That's not the truth. The truth is much weirder, funnier, and better. You see, at 27, I was a little bit of a mess.
Kids, back in the spring of 2014, CBS aired the final episode of How I Met Your Mother. And all controversy aside, it was a fitting end, at least in my opinion. It ended the only way it could have ended. And Greg will agree with me on this.
Yeah. Well, it was unintentional, but I find it funny that essentially it was identical to that Ryan Reynolds movie, Definitely Maybe. You remember that movie, Chico?
I do remember Definitely Maybe.
Hold on a second. Ryan Reynolds, huh? Well, something's coming up soon.
Anyway, CBS is still getting rave numbers and reviews from How I Met Your Mother. Never mind the fact that season 9 felt a little bit disjointed with all of the time jumps that happened and just shoehorning the absolutely divine Kristen Milioti into all of this madness. But we're out of story to tell. So what do you do when you have a hit TV show, but you've run out of story? And you have, because this is a speculative TV show, it has a definitive endpoint. We've reached the definitive endpoint. We've run out of story to tell. We're not going to milk this for any more than it's worth. What do you do? Well, if you're Carter Bays and Craig Thomas, the creators of How I Met Your Mother, you expand your universe. Because there are plenty more stories in New York City.
New York City!
And right now, a woman named Sally Javis in the year 2044 is about to tell you one. Picture it. New York City, 2044. Sally Javis is at her desk on a typewriter from, 60, 70 years ago, writing a letter to her daughter Cricket. And on this letter, the first chapter of how she met Cricket's father.
Obviously, somebody was a big fan of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Who isn't? Sally is writing about her younger self. And this would be 30 years ago, or in our timeline that we currently live in right now, 2014, where we find a hard partying, hard drinking, and very married Sally Javis getting in bed and getting the worst news of her life. Her husband wants a divorce.
What?
She was married to somebody else before she met Cricket's father. Much of the way that Ted did 10 or so years ago. We're getting ahead of ourselves. How, and more importantly, why did this pilot come to be? According to Wikipedia, on November 15th, 2013, CBS and 20th Century Fox, the network and producer of the show respectively, announced that a spinoff was coming at the tail end of How I Met Your Mother, titled How I Met Your Dad. It would be a gender-flipped version of the story we just spent 9 years breaking down. It would be produced by series creators Carter Bays, Craig Thomas, along with Emily Spivey. The cast of the series was revealed on March 14th, 2014, as a pilot went to air. Headlining the cast, albeit in voiceover only, as older Sally, America's sweetheart, Meg Ryan.
Oh, yeah. Because how do you get to top Bob Saget, Meg Ryan?
I mean, that is a hell of a jump, let me tell you. Who do you get to play a younger version of Meg Ryan? Somebody who, up to this point, has been more of a face in the crowd, hasn't really done much on television, but would have a bright future ahead of her. Playing the role of 2014 Sally, Greta Gerwig. She wrote a couple of films. One of them is Lady Bird. People forgot that she wrote Little Women, Lady Bird, and 10 episodes of China, Illinois.
What the hell is China, Illinois?
It's an Adult Swim cartoon with Hulk Hogan.
Wait, what?
It's an Adult Swim cartoon that takes place in college, and the dean is played by Hulk Hogan.
How come I've never heard of this?
That's what I'm wondering. How have you never heard of this? It was on Adult Swim for a while. 3 seasons, it says. starring in 2008.
Well, hopefully, given what we now know of the Hulkster, hopefully he didn't show anybody as little Hulkster, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, Greta Gerwig also wrote a small independent film in 2023 called Barbie.
What is that?
I have absolutely no idea, but I hear the kids are all into it. Mike, not so much.
I did want to add about China, Illinois. One of the people behind it is Brad Neely. It was actually created by Brad Neely. One of my favorite cartoons, oh gosh, this has to be close to 10 years ago now. Actually, it's 8 years ago, according to Wikipedia. And damn it, if I can find it, I want to cover it one day. Brad Neely's Hargnal and Sclopio.
I remember that.
It was a great show. I loved it.
That show, man.
And now Greg's thinking, what's this about Brad Neely? You brought up China, Illinois, and now you're bringing up Hargnal and Sclopio? What the hell's going on? Seriously, I don't care about China, Illinois, but Hargnal and Sclopio, I had a season recording on that because that was hilarious stuff.
Now, hold on. Brad Neely. Is he any relation to former Boston?
No, he's not related to Cam Neely. Okay, Greg. Yeah, he's not related to Cam Neely. I'm just stopping you right there, hitting the brakes. No.
Oh, I was hoping he was related to Seabass from Dumb and Dumber, but whatever.
We have as the central figure Sally Javits, played by Greta Gerwig. Meanwhile, playing her brother, Danny, Andrew Santino, a comedian, actor, podcaster known for Sin City Saints, The Disaster Artist, I'm Dying Up Here, Beef, and Dave.
Now, The Disaster Artist, I love. I love that movie.
If you've never seen The Disaster Artist, it is basically the biography of Tommy Wiseau and his magnum opus, The Room.
Now, Mike, have you ever seen or heard part of The Room?
I never have.
Okay. Well, when you're done tonight, you've searched The Room. It is the most stupidest movie you've ever seen in your life.
No, I'm sorry. My night is planned because I just went to the adultswim.com page and you can watch the entire series, all 10 episodes of Brad Neely's Hargnal and Sclopio there.
That's going on the list, by the way.
That may be a Money in the Bank in the future. Just saying, I don't know if it's going to be for number 50 in March because I sort of said, if we can find more of Me and the Chimp, I might cover that for my 50th birthday. But Hargnal and Sclopio, I'm tucking that away maybe for 51.
Andrew Santino plays Sally's brother, Danny. Playing his husband, Todd, Drew Tarver, best known for his role on the CISO show, Bajillion Dollar Properties.
Oh, wow. What a blast from the past. You mentioned CISO. That's a website I haven't thought about in, ages. What's next? We're going to bring back Quibi?
Playing her husband, Gavin, who went from hard-nosed punk rocker to subservient husband with a Ken doll haircut and a wine cabinet that is just way too big for a living room. Anders Holm, best known for his roles on Workaholics and something called Crossbows and Mustaches. He's a creator, writer, and executive producer of that, as well as Workaholics. Greg, he was also on an episode of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt as Brian Pigslinger. It's the Sliding Van Doors episode, if you remember that. And then we have her best friend, Juliet, played by Tia Sircar, best known as Real Eleanor or Vicky in The Good Place, and also the voice of Sabine Wren in Star Wars Rebels for Disney XD. We have one more person in this cast, and that is a blind date by the name of Frank, played by Nicholas DeGosto, who was in Final Destination 5, Heroes, and The Office, as well as Gotham and Masters of Sex on Showtime, and Spoiler alert! Frank is the father.
Oh, really? They revealed it in the first episode?
Well, they reveal it at the end of the first episode via a picture next to Sally's typewriter.
Oh, okay.
But before we get to that, we have to split these two kids, Sally and Gavin, up. So Sally comes in, and now I'm basically going over the pilot. Sally comes in after a night of hard partying, goes to bed at 3 a.m, wakes up Gavin, who has a bit of news for her.
Oh, what's the news? I'm curious what the news is. I'm sure it's going to be some great news. I mean, what was going on in 2014? I'm sure there was plenty of good news.
Gavin wants a divorce.
Oh, no.
So that leaves Sally to move in with her brother Danny and his husband Todd, who themselves, in a B plot, are seeking to adopt a baby. They, like the gang before them, have set up a website for such purpose. Danny and Todd set up Sally with Frank, along with Juliet. So we have this whole core three who are trying to help Sally get back on her feet. Here's the thing, though. It was basically going to be a one-night stand. I can't even find the cute name for it. It was a one-night stand. Sally was set up with Frank just so she can leave him. But here's the thing. They connect on a deeper level. So Sally, probably getting the wrong idea about this sort of thing, decides to get back together with Gavin. And as a bit of a celebration, this is where we go back into the whole wine cooler being bigger than the law should allow. He has 3 kinds of wine in his wine cooler. Green means anytime, yellow means only in special occasions, and red is basically do not touch this. She goes and reaches for a red wine. She didn't know it was a red wine at the time, but it was the best wine they had, and they're using it to celebrate getting back together. But after realizing that Gavin would not even get their best wine to celebrate, she has a change of heart. They are too fundamentally different as a couple to continue being married. And so they go through with the divorce, but it was an amicable divorce, basically. Meanwhile, Danny and Todd, I thought they were looking to adopt, but they did manage to find a surrogate mother for their baby child. Our new group goes out drinking to celebrate with the bottle of wine that Sally took. Meanwhile, Frank is there still licking his wounds over the date that he and Sally had. Ultimately, they decide it was best to be friends. At the end of the first letter, the first of what they hoped were many, Sally reveals that that was the time that Sally met Cricket's father.
That boy is a delight.
I'm gonna go help him. Frank? Oh, I just realized I'm still wearing your hoodie.
Oh, no, keep it. Fall's coming. Good to have layers. I know that this is probably too soon, but when you're ready...
Frank, listen. My life is, like, really complicated right now. Is it okay if it's just friendship for you and me?
It's never fun to let someone down like that.
Friends it is.
But I have to say,
Thanks.
your dad took it like a champ.
And that's the story of How I Met Your Dad.
So why didn't this make the CBS fall schedule in 2014?
Chalk this up to network interference. On May 14th, 2014, CBS released their 2014 fall schedule, How I Met Your Dad, was not on it. And it all came down to a decision that Bays and Thomas had to make. They decided CBS wanted a rewrite and a reshoot on the pilot. Bays and Thomas said no. So Nina Tassler responded by passing on How I Met Your Father. That being said, they did get CBS's blessing to shop the show elsewhere, and they did, including to Netflix and ABC, but they too passed, and the show let the cast's options lapse. How I Met Your Dad was dead until 2021, when, thanks to some clout earned by This Is Us, Isaac Berger and Elizabeth Aptaker decided to take a crack at the aborted rewrite of How I Met Your Dad. Retitled How I Met Your Father, it was picked up for 10 episodes on Hulu, for the first season at least, and the rest was history. Nina Tassler of CBS said that CBS would love the opportunity to have taken another shot. This was back in 2014. She would continue to hound Carter Bays and Craig Thomas, even though they shot down the idea of a new version of the project, stating they have both moved on. For a couple of years after all of that went down, the pilot remained in limbo. But somebody on Reddit unearthed a script of the pilot, and then 4 years after that, the full episode, which was owned by 20th Century Studios at the time and originally meant just for a sales presentation, was leaked onto Reddit, and it only contained small variations from the script. Ultimately, ideas from this pilot would have made it into the How I Met Your Father show that we got in 2022 and was canceled after 2 seasons. So maybe CBS was onto something. Thoughts, Greg?
I didn't watch the pilot.
But you did watch How I Met Your Father, which was basically like the pilot, only longer.
It's the same thing.
Only they casted out Greta Gerwig and replaced her with Hilary Duff, and they casted out Meg Ryan and replaced her with Kim Cattrall.
Which, to be quite honest, is an upgrade on both.
I think so. Everybody on How I Met Your Dad would have gone on to, obviously, better things. Greta Gerwig, nominated for an Oscar. You can't get any better than that. Well, actually, you can. You can actually win but she was nominated for an Oscar. I'm not going to take that away from her.
Wait, was she nominated for an Oscar?
She was nominated for an Oscar last year.
I don't think she was nominated for Herbie.
Yes, she was.
Okay,
her screenplay was nominated for an Oscar.
Okay, the screenplay, not the director. Okay, that makes sense.
Although she did also direct that movie. That's pretty much all she wrote on How I Met Your Dad. I mean, it was a story of how we got from there to here, and we had a central figure who didn't know what to do with their lives and got on this incredible journey. We knew the ending before anything started, and it was probably for the best that we did. That being said, How I Met Your Dad was one rewrite away, maybe 2. Who knows? I don't know how Hollywood works. It was a couple of rewrites away from being a thing on TV. We have plenty of stories to tell over at our website at itwasathingontv.com. Of course, we have this one and the 474 that went before it. Of course, we are on all social media at It Was a Thing on TV, except for Facebook. We're at It Was a Thing on TV podcast, and Mastodon, where we are at It Was a Thing on TV at tvwatch.party. And please don't forget that we are available on all major streaming platforms. Look us up. We're there. Apple, Google, Amazon, the one we don't speak of. We're also on YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you stay up to date with everything we have, including the grand finale of 2024's Pilot Month. What if I told you that one of the best game show producers came up with a new one? We have a panel who are filled with one half of the question, a player who gets the other half. They have to put together an answer, and if they do it right, there's $10,000 waiting for them. It's a whirlwind of action.
You might say it's a twister.
But we'll get to that next time right here on It Was a Thing on TV. Thank you ever so much for listening. Please be kind to one another, and we will see you for the next one. Wow.
Now, hold on a second. You know what we didn't play in this episode, sadly?
What's that?